What's going on, everybody? Andrew and team, thank you guys for this out of this world introduction in chat. I didn't even know some of these emojis existed. That is fantastic. Well, thank you guys. I see a lot of familiar faces. We've got Tracy and Ruben and Colby and Andrew, brother. Had a lot of fun streaming with you last night too. That was a blast. We've got Yvonne. I think that's the most emojis I've seen in chat to date.
Truly out of this world.
Yeah.
A lot of aliens.
Well, thanks all for tuning in. Let us know in chat too. Where are you all watching from? One of the things I'm always amazed by is how many folks are up at all odd hours of the night to tune in to the quality content here on Adobe Live. I mean, there's people anywhere from like 11 p.m. to 4 in the morning that make a point to show up to these streams. So thank you all for joining in here with us. And if you're just coming into chat, yeah, what the heck did I miss here? That is fantastic. Well, we have a full day plan today. So first, before we jump into things here, let's take a look at the schedule. So we've had some amazing content earlier today. You all just wrapped up with one of my best friends in the world, Andrew Hockrattle, with the Illustrator Daily Creative Challenges. And I'm here with the super talented Alexis Bustos. And we're going to be doing some cool stuff in XD today. And afterwards, make sure you stick around for Howard Pinsky, and he's going to be doing the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenges. And that'll be a blast, as well as Doodle Therapy with Alice. So go check those out. Make sure to stick around. And yeah, thank you guys for being here. All right, well, let's jump back into stuff. So Alexis, if you would introduce yourself and let everyone know who you are, what you do, and what we're going to be picking back up on today from yesterday's project.
You got it. Hello, everyone. Shout out to the chat. Hey, Colby. Colby was the very first person I ever hosted on Adobe Live. It's whiz kid. Love you, man. So if anyone doesn't know me already, my name is Alexis Bustos. Let me just share can you see that as a full screen?
Oh, let me switch over to your screen. Now I can.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Alexis Bustos. You may have seen me here on Adobe Live before. This is a photo of me as a bunny. I think it's cute. I tried to get this to trend with the other guests. So a couple people jumped on. Castle Labs did it. It was really cute. So we all remember our roots here. Alrighty, yeah. I'm more than a designer. I'm also an outdoor enthusiast. I like to plant trees. That's me digging a hole to plant a tree. It's kind of badass. That's why I keep it on. Some other things about me. I get a lot of inspiration from travel, from music. I'm in a band. I like to camp. I think it's important as designers that we understand what makes us creative, right? So it's not just the square box in front of you isn't always going to make you the most creative. Sometimes you have to go outside responsibly nowadays, but generally to gain some inspiration from other places.
Get off the screen every once in a while. That's good.
Every now and then, I think it's really
Stay
important.
on the screen right now, like right now. But afterwards, after all the Adobe Live content, go get off the screen and go look out at nature. Go have a nice little walk if you can.
Here's some imagery for you to kind of remind you that it's all going to be okay.
Yeah.
Some really fun things here. That's when the Giants. I'm a big SF Giants fan. It's when the Giants won their last World Series years ago. But anyways, good memories. Awesome, cool. So my journey with interaction design, UX design, whatever you want to call it, and visual design started a long time ago, as I started as a graphic designer and a photographer. And then a couple of series of career shifts and understanding what UX was, understanding that there was something missing from my just regular visual design career. Something was missing, and it was people. So about 5-6 years ago, I found a program at California College of the Arts. It's their interactive design BFA. And I joined, and I learned, and I formed a community, and I moved to San Francisco, and I immersed myself in the design world. And I'm sure a lot of people in the chat are starting their journey as well. So my biggest plug for going into any type of higher education is do it, but while you're there, meet people. It's all about those people you meet. I shouted out Julian Crespo because I think the chat knows him pretty well, and everyone knows Julian Crespo. But also, does anyone remember Sam Anderson? He hasn't streamed for a while. I went to
Oh,
school with Sam
Sam is
Anderson
a
as well.
whiz kid. I remember I was up in San Francisco at the Adobe offices doing a stream during like his first week of internship, and he was showing us some animation in XD. And like, I have never felt so insecure of having 10 years of experience and like couldn't even comprehend how he built what he built. I remember I was with Evan and Michael Kotchenberger, and we just like all jaws dropped. Couldn't believe what we were seeing. That guy is fantastic.
He's a great guy. Went to school with Sam Anderson. He's part of my tribe. This is actually a photo from my wedding. So you have Julian Crespo, Sam Anderson, Joanne Lee's also been a guest on. And we're just close knit, and we believe in each other and the type of design work we do. Obviously, we like each other. That is also. I've been on the stream for a little while as a host mostly. I love it. I think it's great. Being a guest is very different. But yeah, that's what I'm currently doing in my as a side work. What I do currently is I work as an interaction designer at an agency called Star. We are a global team of like product creators, and we specialize in not just interactive design and UX design. We also work in product strategy, and we have a pretty big engineering team. So a big part of my day to day isn't just creating visual stimulus, right? Like anything like that. It's actually a big part of interaction design and UX design. Something that pulled me in is talking and remembering people. So my days are spent iterating and writing on Post-its and sketching, and it's very small. It's a small window of getting into a design tool like XD at the very end. So I like to show that. Cool, so that's me. Yesterday we talked a bunch about design research. Oh, it's so cool. I can see the chat now.
Well, actually,
Sam
before
is
we
audio
jump
kit guy.
back into the project, I want to switch gears for one
Yeah, go
second.
for it.
So, if you have not, make sure that you guys go and join the Adobe XD community Discord. And it's going to be an amazing place for you to go connect with the community, just as Alexa said, finding your tribe, finding people to work alongside and with. I know when I work, there's nothing that doesn't get seen by my team, or if I'm allowed to show it, things that I can share with friends and trusted people that I want to get feedback from. And this is an amazing place to work on challenges that the Adobe community puts out through like the daily creative challenges, as well as other projects that you might be working on and you want feedback on. We are, myself and Alexis and others are mentors in that channel, and we're able to go in and offer you input and critique on your projects. So jump in. There's so much stuff to learn here. We are going to be doing some challenge reviews. So if you come in here to the current challenge channel, and come in and post your challenge from yesterday or sometime this week from the daily creative challenges with Howard. We're going to be doing some reviews of those projects. So go in there, make sure to tag me. I'm going to go in and find a couple of projects later that we want to take a look at, and we'll review those towards, I think, the last half hour of the stream today. So make sure you join. I think Val has got the link in there. That's fantastic. And we're ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to kick it back over to you, Alexis, and we'll look at what we are doing today.
Awesome. Yeah, Voodoo Val in the chat. What's up, girl? So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell. Yesterday we did a lot of things yesterday. The most thing we focused on the most was where to start a project, not just a screen, where to start an idea when you have it. So we did a lot of talking around design research. We did some like pretty basic wireframes. I got some fun tips around doing Comic Sans that like tripped me out, and I loved it. So today we're gonna like focus on basically design and like creation of this product that we've been discussing. We're gonna make those sketches look good, and maybe we can get them to work well. We won't promise that too much, but the point is we're gonna go into kind of all the necessary elements you need to create your product. In this case, we're doing a mobile app. So maybe we're gonna have to dive into some of this design skills, like we're going to go into color, we're going to go into tone, and we're going to go into fonts. Maybe applying an already existing design system, or what does that look like? And just general vibes. We're just going to vibe today.
Yeah. I think that's a really important thing too. You just said though is we talked about this a little bit, maybe off stream yesterday, but having an existing design system, like especially if you're a beginner and maybe you're not as familiar with some of the fundamentals, things like shadows or shading, color, type sizes. There's a lot of free resources, a lot that are provided by Adobe. I think if you go to the Adobe XD resources page, there's a bunch of UI kits that have been created. Go grab one of those and use that as a starting point. Use it as a design system that, hey, I need a button, I pull this over. Modify things to go with your design and as you need. But that's a great starting point to build a new project and quickly prototype something out rather than needing to build all of that from the ground up. So just a little tip if you're new, just something to play with and go utilize some of those resources.
Absolutely. There's so many, especially, letsxd.com. Go check it out. There's some actual like UI kits that previous people on streams have made. We're gonna use a modified one today just because it's there. So before we get into that, I just want to go over quickly what did we talk about yesterday? Kind of like what was the theme we were working with. Something that I wanted to talk about or think about with this design or this product was that there's been a shift in our work-life balance. Obviously, we know this. And so the question is that the problem we're trying to solve right now is how can we care for our mental health now? And we thought, we came around, okay, we want to make some type of mobile app, because it's always on us. Maybe, obviously that's just the route we're going to go down today. There's plenty of ways to find solutions. We did a little bit of mind mapping, which is a great exercise to do when you're stuck. And this is geared towards everybody who really wants to level up their, not just design visually skills, but your design skills generally, getting into the design process. Rarely you're going to get a prompt that's so clear and focused. A lot of the times what you have is just a problem space. Then that varies, but one thing that really hones in or helps you hone in your design skills is understanding how to answer a really large question. So that's what I'm kind of showing you right now. So we did some mind mapping in XD, made some Post-its, used it as our own little whiteboard. I pulled together some research I did, pulled together some things that I heard friends say, heard family say, some trends. I talked about this book, Universal Methods of Design. Great if you want to get more into the design research of things, which I really implore you to do. We did some comparison, some analysis from other similar apps. A Headspace. What's Nike Training Club doing around this topic? And we came out was some research insights, and I'll just stay here really quick. But I think the two topics we're discussing, right, are mental strength, right? We're talking about maybe what's a workout app for your mind, and then distraction. We want to be distraction free because we are very much distracted right now, and we're talking about having a very calm mental health space. So these are just some of the insights I gathered, and it's so funny because you do all that back end work figuring that out, and what you're left with is two phrases that then guide you.
Right.
So that's where we're at. And it's cool. We talked a little bit how we were you can use XD as this workspace, right? It literally, nowadays we are stuck in our homes. Maybe we don't have access to a whiteboard to collaborate, to think about your ideas. Maybe you just don't want to keep it in a notebook. It's too small, the space. Throw it in XD and play with it, have fun with it. It's not just a place to make mobile apps screens or web screens. You can make it your own whiteboard. Try it out. It's fun. It's nice. Get your ideas out that way. And then we started building some fun wireframes, right? And what we kind of decided was we are going to make an app that has, obviously we're going to have, for every app you need to sign in or an onboarding, and so a place for people to land and understand what they need to do. Maybe they download it and they don't know whether or not they want to continue using it or not. It's kind of this this extra cell space. All right, so I came up with an idea with the word ISO. kind of like isolate, but like TBD for this app name. Right. So I thought maybe we'll do like an in between, like we can skip ahead, not necessarily have our own profile, but maybe there's somewhere we can learn a little bit more about the app without diving in. So I thought of this little, this little guide. Again, not kind of like not huge, it's just a sign in, but and there's so many different ways to do sign ins. I feel like just get a sign in. It's immensely important. You can work on sign-ins and onboarding for a very long time.
Yeah.
And people have done it and redesigned it, and I don't even know if it's been perfected. I haven't experienced a very good sign-in or onboarding. So there's a big challenge for everyone else. As our home, we want to have, what I was thinking was having kind of this open space, full of fun imagery, something light. Maybe there's a video plays, that'd be cool. And then you kind of come into this like community of space. Maybe it showcases different activities for you to do to relax your mind. Maybe it has different classes or guides. Then you start. So these are some iterations of what we're thinking around our this home. And then we go into this idea around meditation and music. So we're basing this off of like a Headspace type app, a Headspace that gives you like meditation guides. And we're also kind of basing it around like almost like a training club. So here's some like informal ideas around like what that could look like. Maybe we see them all at once and then you can hit one individually. Maybe it's separated from day to day. Maybe you can search, kind of threw that in as last minute idea. Maybe it's a full guide. But then, and so these are some things to think about when you're thinking of these like larger spaces for people to be. And then you can kind of go out and make, once you've kind of thought through those, then you can go out and make like this type of space where it's like, okay, what is it going to look like when it's actually playing? What's something going to look like? What's this player going to embody? And I'm excited to see your DCC next week. I remember you saying you were doing like a music app. So
yeah,
that'd be cool.
So we've got a question from chat here from Anna. Alexis, is it common to design without actual persona profiles and interviewing potential users? What are your thoughts on? Yeah, because I know there's a big difference between common and ideal. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that as we go.
So it's a great question. Is it common? I think it is. I don't think it's necessarily ideal. We talked a little bit about like how a lot of what we see on Behance and kind of what showcased on like a Dribble is more of a showcase of a visual design. But if we want to talk about, a lot of people watching the stream right now, maybe you're wanting to get into UX as a career. Personas, interviewing, research, background research. It's not only common. It's like it's imperative to your role, and I think it's hard to showcase that on a lot of these in these forms through Behance, through Dribble. It's hard to showcase your background research, but it really is the essence of what a product is. So I mean, you can spend months doing that. That. People have teams, companies,
and there's a balance.
Dropbox has some of the best like design researchers like out there, and they have designers to just research. So it's a whole thing.
Yeah, and it's a balance of, like you said, you could spend months doing it, or is it cheaper or more effective to do a little bit and then start iterating and testing and going through that like loop process? Does the client or the company have budget to do it? To what extent? The more you do research and strategy, the more you're able to ground your work and be able to say, hey, here's the reason. Like, you can back up, because that's why I like UI and UX design is with logos. It's like, oh, you like the Nike swoosh or you don't. It's very just opinion based. I like going into something and being, well, here's why we did this. And here's, how it's tested. Here's how it performs. So you can tell me you don't like it. Too bad, it works. So, like, we could try some other things, but at the end of the day, that's the most important deliverable. And it's nice to have that foundation to back up what you're doing. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I didn't think I noticed that and realized that until I started working. So even at school, as when learning just like these basics around visual design, incredibly important,
Mm-hmm.
incredibly important. But until I started working with a team and understanding how many stakeholders are actually a part of a product, your engineers,
Yeah.
your sales people, maybe your community people. There's so many people that are going to be reliant on you getting it right,
Yeah.
and
They
having
need to teach
informed.
more of that in school. I think that's one of the biggest. Like I went to design
Yeah.
school too. Not a whole lot really
Where
applied to
did you
like
go?
actually. I went to FITM in LA.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
I I spent money. That's kind of what I got out of it. But yeah, I mean, I hear that just more and more from so many people that it's like so much of it is focused on the design and visual or learning the tools, which you can learn on your own or through
Yeah.
tutorials and stuff now online. Like, it really needs to get into teaching those more like real world and job skills that you really need to apply. So I think that's something I really hope is taught more going forward.
Yeah. I mean, I know so many people are here to see visual design, and we're going to do
Yeah,
that. But I think it's a really
it's
important thing.
important.
It's front end. It's front end for me. You know,
Yeah,
it's how I get started. I don't know about a lot of you guys in the chat. Maybe you guys can get inspiration around things quickly, and I commend you on that. But for me, my inspiration is from the actual users and who's using it and why. And colors can change. Like, you can change a color so fast. You know what you
yeah,
can't change? Like an actual, like, 5 months of engineering work on a product. You can, but it's like, oh man. Um, anyways, so to get into more visual stuff, I mocked up a mood board. I say that so like begrudgingly. I mocked up a mood board. But like, I was trying to gain some inspo. Some words I was pulling were like meditative, self-care, serene. I even spelled that right. Embracing, calm. These imagery of this imagery of nature, of people, single people. I know I have these two people in a photo, but I kind of like what that represented too, having your own little like space and community. I use photographs because I'm a photographer at heart, and I get a
hmm
lot of like my vibes and my color schemes from like photographs. Um, you can also include UI elements. I like really like, I added a little button. I was like, great, we're gonna do like some type of rounded button. It's gonna be great. Nothing too harsh, nothing too crazy. So I have some like primary colors, some typography colors, maybe some secondary colors getting thrown around, getting pulled from some of this imagery. So yeah, something a little bit like that, I think, is our direction.
nice.
If anyone has any questions around mood boarding, that's a whole vibe unto itself. I'm sure everybody, especially if you went to design school, everybody has a thing to say about mood boards and
Yeah,
how to do it right. And different people do it differently. Like, I remember the industrial designers mood boards were like so epic, and I remember like, and then I remember the like they were like so detailed and focused, and everything down to like the curve and the texture. And then you get to the interaction designers, and we're like, well, we want it to be friendly. Like, it's like so different. I was like, oh my gosh. So but I took a lot of inspo from looking at different path of a different discipline. Look at some industrial design work. Look at some fashion design, mood
yep.
board inspiration. The way they do it is completely different. So I took an actual UI kit that was already available. I believe this is. Let's look. I need to give kudos. Cody Brown's, right? So his UI kit was all around kind of something similar, like keeping in the vibe and the tone with keeping active, something that's a little bit more of an active app, and tracking that. I think it was called Tractive. But this is a UI kit that exists. What I did was I put my embellishments on it for how I want it to look right now. And, and that's okay, because we're going to reuse components. A lot of buttons, right? Like, you only have a certain way to use them. I really liked his whole idea around activities, so I'm going to incorporate our own version of activities. We're going to go into kind of creating components with you guys today. And then what did we do? I picked some fonts. So we're going to talk about too. I'm using a serif and a sans serif because I'm edgy. There's really nothing beyond that. I want to play with it. There's another thing with these types of projects. I want to play around and I want to push my expectations. Yes, I could have gone very safe, but let's push it. Why not? Cool. So we have some kits there. And so basically what we can start doing also, okay, so one thing that is really simple to do during all of this is once you have like a color scheme, Adobe XD has a really great space for you to save all of this information, right? We call it like the asset panel.
Right, and that's that third or very top item over here. I think you, I'm gonna slide you over to the side for just a second, and if you could show everyone where that component icon is. So it's just down here on the left-hand side.
Right, yes, right down here.
Yeah, near your layers panel. So I'll slide you back over. You're kind of covering that.
Okay, got it. I can move a little bit.
And yeah, that's where you go and you can organize all your stuff. So let's walk through that a little.
Yeah, absolutely. So we all know layers, right? That's something we all kind of see and understand. But right above, yes, it's assets. And what's cool is, people break down their assets in different ways. The way XD is doing it is pretty great because I think it's very design focused and visual design friendly and focused. So what I like to do first, or not first, what we have first on the list here is colors. So once I've like picked through maybe my imagery, my source files, maybe I have a color that I really love already, and I want to highlight it and keep it, and I'm going to use it over and over again. What I can do is, okay, so we have this block of blue. It's selected, it's actually, this is important, it's selected as fill, right? And border is not checked. So you need to remember that as well. So right now I want to insert a color that is going to fill a shape completely. Maybe it's not going to use the outline, but it's going to fill whatever shape I select. So I want to save it. I don't want to save it. I want to make it a component. Nope, don't want to make it a, what happened?
You just want to add the color?
I want the color. What happened? Why is that off?
I think because it's one of the colors. So if you hit undo.
Okay, so I got to get a new color. Okay,
yeah.
Let's get a new color. Wall.
I think you're inside the grouping. So deselect, yeah.
All right, so I want this crazy red. Crazy. So that's why it didn't work. Got it. Okay. So this red's nowhere in my saved colors yet. So what I can do is I can just add color. And actually what it did, it added two colors. It added my fill and my border color, which is a lot. So that's pretty much it. And it's nice to have those.
Yeah. Well, and then if you want to change that red color to a different tone, you could just simply change that in the master component, and anywhere that color is used and that style has been applied, it will then override and change it. So you can make it purple or blue in a matter of seconds. And what's so awesome with that is if you've built an app that is tens or hundreds of screens, you would have otherwise had to go and like find and isolate every layer that utilizes that color. And for such a tedious task, it could be something that could take hours or days. But that's where take that one step back, organize your colors, organize all your stuff. And then going forward, it's going to be like leaping every time you need to make a change.
Absolutely. So let's see if I think that can work in tandem here. So even on the screen alone, you can see these colors are blocked out. Here's this blue again. Here's this blue again on the button. And so if I right click and I want to maybe edit the color like Peter was talking about, you're absolutely right. It will change all of the different spaces. Let's see what you can see. All of the different places this blue originally showed up. So this is a pretty prominent blue. So yeah, if I wanted to change everything, it's so easy. I can just change that color.
Yeah. I don't even think I ever noticed the right click and highlight usages. That's really cool too.
I like, it's my favorite way to get around because there's so much to be done. Cool. Alrighty. So what I'm gonna do, I thought we'd talk about flow, but let's just get into it. I'm gonna highlight these. Or I can just, there's much less going on with the mood board. Let's pull that over. Mood board's there for inspiration. Everyone's got a different way of organizing this stuff. The other thing that's happening too, the same with fonts, is character styles. So I have a lot of different things happening. I was trying out different different fonts here, but basically we're going to try to focus on these being our primary and secondary headings. We have some button labels here. I'm using sans serif and I'm using serif. So we're going to see how that looks. Obviously, you would use serif more for your bigger titles. We're going to see how it looks with this imagery I have. If we don't, so one thing we can do is that I've already done actually, is I brought over my primary heading, and it's right here in character styles. What I can do is I can actually rename it to primary heading.
Yeah, I'm curious, like what your recommended preferences are on these, because I always love seeing how people like organize this stuff.
Right. I go simple. I try to simplify as much as I can. I can go into things like card copy, body copy, but I know I try to stick with at least three, right? I have these three. I have secondary, section header, primary, and then button label. Honestly, I don't really use these so much. We'll see if I do. And I like to start there on sizing. So we have 30, 24, 18.
So is that challenge? Like, do you have H1 through H3? Do you have H1 through H6?
What's funny is that I feel like when I'm starting a project, when I'm this early on, I'm trying not to kind of break it down so it has to be, because I think there's so many components we don't know yet what we're going to be building.
Yep.
So it's hard with design systems too, chat, to just we talk a lot about them and how they are so important, and they are, but it's hard to have one picked before you start. So it's all about pulling out the design system as you go. So when you see somebody's case studies and they look beautiful and they're like, oh, they have that font picked beautifully, it's like, that's after a lot of time, messing up, trying different pieces. No one ever goes into like, I'm using these fonts and I have to use them this way.
Yeah.
It's constantly changing.
I usually find like you're usually weeks or months into a design before the design system starts to formulate, because it's a lot of just experimentation.
It really is. I'm a very organic designer in that way. But I will say, for a lot of people who are looking for UX jobs, being able to apply a design system that's been created for you, so important. It's so important. There is no fun experimental, try new things. And that's the benefit. We were talking about this earlier, of working at a place that's a little more free creatively, maybe an agency versus an in-house team where that design system's been established. That's what they have, and don't mess around with it. So different things to think about when looking at this type of work. So yeah, how's the chat doing? Yeah, I am from I'm actually half Filipino. Someone just called out my ethnic origin. I'm half Filipino, half Mexican. Very, very area combo. But thanks for that. I love the shout out. Yeah, so let's just jump in. I kind of like starting with my imagery, because once something goes in, it looks designing live. Let's jump into this. Let's do this.
No stress. Not like couple hundred people are watching or anything.
Oh man,
you're a pro. You've been through this before. We know.
I have. Everyone a little rusty. So right now I'm just kind of playing around again. Like, I had a heading size, but like this is a little bit different. This might be where my main icon lives, my main logo lives. So I'm gonna mess around with this a bit. It's the talking part. It's the talking while designing. How did we ever do this?
It's always funny because I notice when I do streams, like I was streaming last night with Evan and Andrew, and like we get really quiet. I do the same thing in video games, and everybody makes fun of me
Mm,
because they're like, "Oh, Peter must be doing really well. He's not talking right now." Because when you're in that zone, you just kind of shut up and like do the work. So that's the challenge here is vocalizing all the things as we go. But that's what I'm here to help. So what we can see here is that, as Alexis is going here, she's starting to set up and apply some of these type styles on the side. So we've got things now like our button, primary headings, and that way it's really easy as these things get tweaked, as maybe we change some of this, that it's going to, again, universally adapt through the design. And again, I love seeing this like stop and take a moment and apply these styles, because now once we get into the future screens that we have coming up to the right, we can just copy paste or bring those components over, and it's going to make this really easy to work with going forward. And you've got a
You
nice
want to
little,
talk about grids really quick while I'm
yeah,
like moving things around just generally?
yeah. Are you an 8 pixel grid, a 10 pixel grid person? This
I
tells us a
tend to,
lot about you.
does it? Does it? It does. I guess it does. It does. I tend to go with the 8 pixel just because that's kind of where I'm. There you go.
I knew we were friends.
Just accommodating, I think, is the word I want to use. A little bit more. I don't know. Everyone I know uses 8.
Yeah.
10. I don't know 10
I know
like,
I've posted some articles, I think, in the Discord and the Pro Tips channel. And I mean, if you look at the mathematics of just how stuff breaks down, 8 pixel grid works on more screen sizes without deviation or half pixels or things like that than a 5 or 10 pixel grid system. But also when you look at things like iconography is always 16, 24, 32, etc. And 8 pixel, it has a better vertical rhythm and just kind of overall flow with things. And it tends to be like you'll see type usually in a vertical rhythm of like, or increments of 4 or 8. And so again, it all plays really well. It's something subtle that you don't even notice if you were observing something, but it feels really good. So definitely read up a little bit on the 8 pixel grid system, and highly recommend it. It's solid.
Yeah. Yes. So much to read out there. It's almost like I feel like there should be a place where people could find all of that, but also like have it not be so overwhelming. That might be a really interesting design challenge. Is the actual like mathematics around screen size and signing, and what could be done to like for those people that are like, what do you mean I gotta count? Like, what do you mean I have to like understand that math? Like, I'm a designer, it's like, well, but also rules are meant to be broken. I'm trying to remember the design trend that's going around right now. The name of it is, but it's basically intentionally trying to break all design rules. Gosh, do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Like things are oversized. There is no grid. It's like a whole trend. It's super trendy.
Oh, like not brutalism.
Yeah, like brutalistic.
I know what you're talking about though. I think, yeah, I know a couple people that were working on some stuff with that. But yeah, Andy, what we're talking about here is like, so for example, we would take our margins or padding on the sides. And so it's probably going to be like 16 or 24 pixels from the left edge to the right edge. So math is right. If we're doing a standard 375 width artboard for probably like an iPhone 10, we would have 343 pixels, which again, I know this because like you just do this thousands and thousands of times, you start to know what the numbers are going to be, but you have 343 pixels within the middle of your artboard to put your content. So everything kind of lives within that. When you get into even like desktop or tablet design, everything to the height of your buttons are 40 pixels or 48 pixels or 56 pixels. Everything follows those guidelines. And so by having kind of that system in place, it makes it really easy for there to be continuity between everything that you do, because there's a reason for it. It's not just like, well, this button looks good and it's spaced. There's a flow to it. So really helpful on the development side as well as the design side.
I want to see if I can make on the fly do this thing where you make a new state and have it be I'm gonna make some states. I'm gonna try to mess around with some states. This came out a while ago, and I remember when it did. And Howard's been doing some crazy stuff with it in terms of organizing. So I'm gonna test myself to use it more.
Well, I love that shadow effect. It's something we talk about a lot on the streams, but like you can do shadows right or you can do shadows wrong. And I feel like that's another kind of immediate sense of seeing a designer portfolio and I like get an understanding of
Someone knows how to use their
yeah, because you
shadow.
don't want it to look like it's just super harsh or whatnot. There's a lot of abuse with that when it becomes like color shadows. You want it to be soft and faint, and it's meant to just be something that helps allow you to use a white button on a white background and give just enough separation to have that element pop off the page and give a little contrast. So I love what you've got going on here. It's nice and subtle, it looks very clean, and really good.
And it's just a thought. I don't know, maybe I will keep this for the final, right? It's just a trying out what this would kind of look like. I kind of like it so far. Yeah.
Well, like you said, let's drop a photo in too, and that kind of like the whole thing just kind of comes to life.
Why can I never mask correctly in next? I shouldn't say that out loud. What's happening? Oh, great.
Mask with shape.
I just never. You guys, this is real. This is a very real thing happening. We're all learning.
You know what's funny too is I can tell you're like me. I'm not a hotkey person. I don't know why, and I should be. I don't use hotkeys. I always like right click, arrange, center, or like move to back. I don't use the hotkeys, and I don't know what it is.
I don't know. My other passion is woodworking, so I'm a very tactile person. And yes, there's hotkeys, but there's something, I don't know, it feels like it's part of the journey, is like doing all the different things you have to do. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Let's read. There's a different one. Or, what we could do to kind of match this blue a little bit better.
Maybe throw a little layer over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Evan's the hotkey master. I got to give it to him. So we use a program at work. Evan's on my team, and we use a program called Tandem, which is really cool. And it's kind of like, for those of you that are older, well, actually, no. For you guys, it's Discord, where it's like open voice channels. For my generation, it was Ventrilo and TeamSpeak and stuff like that, or like AOL chat rooms or something. I'm not that old, but I feel old in this industry. Is you just kind of like hop in a channel and you can chat. So for those of us that are remote all the time, as well as right now we're all remote, it's really nice to be able to just jump in and have conversations. And we'll be working and it's like everyone's always going, I don't know, how do I do this thing? And Evan's just blurting out hotkeys. Like he knows everything left and right. And that's why he's faster than most of us.
Yeah, it's tremendous how fast some of these designers can do this. With the hotkey. Sam Anderson's one of those people. That kid was always using some sort of shortcut. All right, we're messing around, trying out different vibes. This rectangle I have. See, I lightened it so that it really doesn't match this blue, but.
Could maybe even do like a gradient going up, so it's like darker on the bottom,
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's see what it looks like. Ooh, I like it. I like it. It's subtle. It's a subtle. We're gonna leave it because it's all good. And that.
You can make that like first one white and then maybe just do an outline on the other two. Keep those like really subtle.
Yeah. Just do like an outline of like,
So
ooh,
remove the fill, but make the border white.
that is classy.
It's
That's why
got
we
that
pick.
beautiful photo, we don't want to take too much attention.
That's why you're the. That's why you're the master. Alrighty.
Alan, are you at the age like you can hear that old AOL ringtone connecting on that 56K phone line?
Alan in the chat.
And Anna was asking why the name ISO for this app.
Yeah, I'm trying to play around with the idea of isolation. Is it too ominous? You guys tell me. Again, it's one of those things where like these are we're playing around with ideas here. What do you guys think, chat? I mean, throw out some ideas, chat. So this is an app all around wellness, mental health, caring for yourself. We're going to have a way to track maybe your activities, and those activities are all centered around like isolation. So meditation, yoga, maybe taking a walk with the headset. So throw some ideas of names out there if you have any. I'm always open, always, to new ideas. I'm very collaborative, which is a learned skill, by the way.
I'm trying to think, what's a group of surfers called or something? Just trying to think of something that, because we've got kind of this beach and like peaceful and Zen thing. So like, is there anything around some of those activities that can maybe do something? But yeah, let's keep going on some of these. So are you gonna have it kind of transition between different events, or are you picturing keeping a theme of this kind of like beach and outside throughout that onboarding process?
I think I'm gonna do like event based. I think this is the other thing. It's when to let the imagery guide the whole app, and when to kind of take a step back. I'm still figuring that out right now. And I'm also trying to figure out why this doesn't work. I gotta get my body text in here. So I'm gonna go on my let's try this. This is a section header, but what if I use it? Let's try it. Let's try using it for what I'm doing right now, which is basically like this subtext. I have over here this like sans serif, but let's try it with a little. Doesn't look bad. Doesn't look bad. You know what? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's nice to have that differentiation between them. All right, and so we've got about an hour and 10 minutes left. Probably got about 45 minutes left of design. So we'll keep chugging along on these screens here. And make sure you guys are submitting your daily creative challenges. If you click the challenge tab here in chat, you'll be able to see the challenge for today, submit that in there, and we're going to be reviewing those towards the end of the stream. And just while we take a quick second, let's go over a couple other things. So we have a fantastic lineup of content today. We've had some fantastic folks on before. Some of you joined us just from Andrew's stream, but make sure you stick around for the XD Daily Creative Challenges with our friend Howard Pinsky, and Doodle Therapy with Alice Lee, amazing illustrator and muralist. I think I've had her murals in at least 5 of our mood boards for projects for different mural designs over the last 2 or 3 years. So go check her work out too. It's amazing. Also, if you are joining us from YouTube, make sure, and I think the mods are continuously posting this link over there, make sure to join us over on Behance. That's where we are checking and engaging in chat. So we're not in multiple locations there. So make sure you join in on Behance. Go check it out, create a profile, upload your artwork, and check out all the amazing content that Adobe has going on. We've got these streams. We're starting to do after hours streams with different folks. I know I stream a couple times throughout the week, as well as Andrew Hockrattle. We've been working on some cool things. And you can go find all the programs that you like to use and find some amazing folks that are working on those projects. So go check it out, go learn from them. And then lastly, I want to touch on something that's really cool with everything going on. Adobe is doing their Adobe Creative Residency Community Fund. And this is a $1 million community fund aimed at providing resources for creatives. And the project will run the entirety of 2020. So there's no rush to apply, but don't delay. Try to get in, get as many chances as possible. And if you do this and you are selected, you will receive a one-time grant to pursue a 2 to 4 week project. And there's just a lot of great stuff. So I'll post that link in there. And again, just make sure you guys go apply. It's super, super cool and amazing. All right. So with that too, we'll jump back into some things. Again, don't forget to submit your portfolios. And if you've got questions along the way, make sure to ask us in chat. While Alexis is knee deep in design and pixels, I'm going to be trying to monitor chat and make sure that we are getting all of your questions answered.
Knee deep. Knee deep. Speaking of knee deeps, we were just going over our bucket list, me and my wife, and I don't know why knee deep reminded me of this. Have you ever waded in a cranberry bog?
Like, all I'm picturing is those commercials with the guys like in the middle of the lake with the cranberries. Is that a cranberry bog? Okay.
Yeah.
Nope, haven't done that.
Okay. That's one of the bucket list things. Bucket list, man. I feel like mine is like growing exponentially because of like all the things I want to be doing right now.
Yeah. And so what kind of stuff is going through your head here? Like, what are you testing out? What are you trying? Why are you trying these different things?
Yeah. So I'm trying different, so obviously these screens are going to look similar. I want them to kind of feel the same because think of it, someone's going to be swiping through these. We can actually like try to do a little prototyping about it with it. I want them to have the same vibe. I want them to give the same tone and mood. I want the copy to not be too forced. Again, this is me, my subtle kind of like design style, but the thing that's going on right now is you're informing the user that maybe has downloaded your app. I'm giving them an opportunity to kind of try it out without actually having to sign up or sign in, or even go deep into the app itself. So it kind of works like a little a preview, a secondary preview. So right now what I'm trying to figure out, right, is everything aligned? Is everything to grid? These buttons are kind of, I'm okay with buttons kind of protruding out a bit. I'm not feeling these though right now anymore. And it's kind of interesting because like, as you go on and as you see like these elements together, these things will shift. So I'm not going to worry too much about the buttons, but so far so good. I'm masking with different shapes. I'm wanting these text to like pop. That's such a loaded word. Pop.
Pop, little unicorns come out from the side of it when we go. Yep, I got you.
I want that to work. If I was really pushing pixels, I would actually like see, like what am I aligning? Is this alignment clear? Right now I'm at 8. That's okay. It looks pretty good. Again, so this isn't UI right now. I'm more or less a kind of like designing an ad, which is because I don't have necessarily any like tasks I want this person to take. Now, another idea could be, and again with onboarding is to really pull in your user immediately. So like ask them questions like, how are you feeling today? Which we could do.
But you're already making. You're already starting to guide the user down a path. Like there's more visual hierarchy and weight on sign up than there is for skip. And so like those decisions, and I'm pointing that out because like these are tiny things. We didn't just make 2 buttons that are different colors. We made one button that is predominantly going to draw more attention, and that the user is more likely to just instinctively look at and tap on and almost not even see that skip is there, because the intention for them and the desire is to get them to sign up for the application. So, as you're working on these things, be thinking of those decisions and everything that you're working on. How are you guiding the user's path? And like, if you glance at your screen, that's kind of a test we do, where you just kind of like look over what are the first 2 or 3 things that you see and pick up on, and is that what you want the user to engage with? And if it's not, you need to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to move them in the right directions.
Absolutely. Exactly. Yeah. I think those, and it's funny because I don't even like think to say those things right now because it's so kind of ingrained. But yeah, what we want these people to do is to sign up for the app. Like, the end goal is somebody to stay on your product and use it. And so there are tips and tricks and ways to keep people focused. Sometimes they're overused. Sometimes those elements, those types of things are overused, and people can see them coming. So it's also our job as designers to stay fresh, keep it fresh. All right, so let's go into home. And I think I want to use, I don't know why this picture vibes with me. Put it down here. Oh, it's so weird, and it's just heads. Maybe it's a video or something. But this is going to be kind of maybe our home. Maybe this comes down. I like the idea of maybe something coming down and then flipping up. Let's try that.
I would love just a feature request for the XD team. It would be super cool to be able to place movie files or animated GIF files in the prototype, and even if they're not like looping constantly while you're working, but in prototype mode, that it could come to life. That would be super cool, because like, we could create that background where it is the movie file in the scene and the woman turns or something, that kind of stuff, especially because XD, in my opinion, is the dominant platform and tool in terms of this ease of use of animation and prototyping. That would be stellar.
That's probably why I liked it. This totally vibes like this could be a movie.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that in a lot of actual mobile apps in general. Like, people are breaking those boundaries and throwing in motion way more. And yeah, that could be interesting. I'd love to see that. XD, let's do it. Right. So let's try to figure out why I put this button here. Let's see, maybe we'll do the opposite and it'll be something we can flip up. So we're going to go into icons for design, one of my favorite plugins on XD, just because it's so quick to use, and it's just tiny little UI elements that you're like, I really don't feel like making this button, this iOS arrow. I don't need to. It's here. Someone made it for me. I can just pull it in. So maybe this flips up. Maybe that's not centered. Yeah, maybe it does something like that. Maybe it starts in and we have a little video play and welcome to ICE. Now, let's see, what else can I... Let's make this a bit smaller. It's still just... Yeah, does anyone else come up with any other ideas around the name? I like ISO. I mean, I get it. ISO and also camera. There's some things there, but... Okay, cool. So here is where I'm going to reuse an element down here. So I'm going to make some sort of card. I think it'd be interesting to kind of showcase like activities you could do right away, or activities. There's some type of guide. So when you enter, it's like, what do I do? It's like, okay, immediately you can learn maybe a new type of yoga. Maybe you're gonna, maybe you just need a good playlist. So I'm just gonna throw those activities up on this main page So theoretically, this would be on top of this page would come first.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how that would look.
And just for names, I don't know if this works or not, but on the same like vein of isolation or isolate, solace. So solace is comfort or consolation in a time of distress or sadness. If something eases your disappointment or grief, consider it a solace. If you're sad, you might find solace in music or in talking to your friends.
Spell solace for me.
SOLACE. Solace.
Solace.
That's my old spelling bee thing kicking back.
I'm gonna have I'm no shame around the fact that I am a designer and not a writer. I don't spell well, and I'm completely paranoid about spelling, especially within designs. One thing at least I took from my very formal design education was, if you have a misspelling on your design, you are getting roasted.
Yep.
So I have no shame in being like, spell that exactly. Spell that for me. I'm not messing that up. Not even gonna try. So thank God we have spell check.
Yes, those are like the best plugins.
Let's see. I wanna maybe come up with some. Maybe this is just activities for now. Maybe this activity is.
And yeah, Val was asking, we talked about planning and research and mood boards yesterday and earlier today, but do you have any apps that specifically that really inspired you for this?
The apps, yeah. I definitely took a lot of cues. Let's see, where's my competitive analysis?
I know we had stuff like Headspace was in there.
Yeah, so we have apps like, like Headspace, which we know is just meditation specifically. So it's a little more easy and focused to understand. So I really like, I thought about using Elements, maybe like, so they use illustrations here and they use a lot of photography. I thought about kind of like doubling up on those elements as well. We'll see where this goes. Shine is another one that's very much along the same line. There's like a community, there's a way to change your productivity. They're really trying to kind of do something very similar, which I think I haven't used it, but I feel like it'd be good to use. So I took some cues from like Training Club, definitely like that timer element. I really liked honestly, I liked the vibe and the copy around Spotify mostly. Mm-hmm. This idea that someone's thinking of you and thinking of what you're doing. So yeah, these are some of the apps that I like took inspo from. Yeah, and maybe, there are some elements where I'm like, yeah, I should just do that in the same way. Like this main page, I really liked that you land somewhere that's kind of like more official and not as cumbersome as something like, like even just like your daily shine, like that's not really telling me so much what's going on. I want to come into somewhere and feel someone's figured out what I should be doing right now.
Yeah.
Cool.
Something
and then later on, I can guide myself through the app.
Yeah, something I was thinking about was like using some, like learning algorithms to where maybe there's like a daily check-in and it's like, how are you feeling today? And maybe it's like a scale of 1 through 5 of happy faces, kind of like a doctor's pain chart or something like that. But based on that, maybe you've had several really good days. And so based on it, the content changes, or it notices that maybe every 2 or 3 days you slip back a little bit, that by tracking that and kind of letting the program create these like habits or learn about your habits, that it might know that, hey, today's probably going to be an extra tough day. So you know what? Let's start the day off like, let's go outside, let's do an outside yoga or have an early morning walk. And like really help to empower that person to have the best day possible by just learning a little bit about them in a small way, just in a, how do you feel today? And ranking that could create those kind of habit trackers.
I love that. I love that. I love that idea. I've seen some fully curating your mood experience. I think I stayed away from mood tracking because it's a lot of work to be able to get in and track your mood every day.
Yeah.
So it's something that's a little bit below that feels right on the money.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to see how this like whole community, this whole like how UX has evolved in a way. Because I think when I was starting to learn how to, it was like 6 years ago, and like saying stuff like, oh, an AI learns your behaviors and like makes recommendations was literally like, oh, okay, that's a cool thought. That couldn't happen. Now it's like, let's have an AI learn their behaviors and like,
and that's stuff that you can figure out and learn too, to say, as you think through that, and how we as product people have to then analyze, well, should we put that feature in or not? Because you brought up a good point. That's a lot of work. It means like I have to go in and constantly track it. Some people might love that feature, and maybe that's what the intent of the app is, or it's not, and it's an extra feature. And so you start to like go down this path of, hey, maybe we do a small release, and for a couple of users, we give them the option to opt in or not have that. So like every day it does remind them, or maybe it's just a question when they open the app, and we can gauge things, or maybe it's a feature we don't put in at all. But like as a product team, you start to have these conversations that, it's not specific to the visual design per se, but you're talking about these bigger questions of like, how do we want people to interact with this, and what is too much, what defeats a purpose. So many interesting conversations, and that's where there's just it can be a rabbit hole of things to go down.
It is. And that's the thing, is that there are so many ways to do things. Now the technology is we're completely catching up to what we thought was not available. And so now we're at the point where it's like, it can't do all the things. So let's hone in. And so that's why, at the beginning, really understanding what your user wants to do, and not in a way that's like, it can do everything. Your user could have access to everything, and that's great. But should we offer that? I think the answer should be no. That's way too much.
Yeah.
And if anybody has spent any time in startups, figuring out what that like MVP is, figuring that out is hard. And so that's why actually I recommend a lot of people who are just starting out, go look at some startups. Like go into a startup, even if you feel like you don't have a lot of experience. They try to hire a good source of designers, but for you yourself, if you feel like I really am at the starting point of my journey, I really want to know how and why something gets made, go work at a startup and get into the trenches with them. There's a lot to learn there. Cool. So let's do a couple of these. So I'm making these little cards to kind of represent an activity somebody can be doing, right? So we'll kind of like lay them out, maybe a bit of a shortcut. But what I wanted to do first was kind of show you guys my thoughts around these activity icons. I really like, these are also taken from the original UI kit. I really like the idea, but those icons didn't really work for me. So I tried to make my own, or I did make my own. But one thing I wanted to show you was how to reuse these elements. So for state 2, so first off, this default state is this OG kind of thing. It's going to be like a yoga vibe, meditation vibe icon. So I made state 2. So I just changed the state, and literally, so it's the exact same element. I don't have to make that new shape. I don't have to like figure out that same color. And I can line them up pretty easily. And all I really have to do for when I'm editing state 3, which is where I'm in right now, should be 3, yep, is kind of delete that. So right now I have state 1, state 2, state 3. Should be default state. Cool. So I can mix and match. I mean, I'm playing around. We're not doing any hover states right now. Sorry guys, because we're doing a mobile app. I'm not doing an iPad, new iPad. And yeah, that's where we're at. Okay. So I did want to make a new activity. So I'm thinking maybe a meditation. It looks a little bit more like a flower, maybe an activity like hiking, maybe it's more of an energy booster. And then we also have these like audio experiences, some type of music playlist. So we could do like, I said I wasn't going to use one of these icons, but I kind of think they'd work for this. So let's try this. So we're gonna just make another one really quick. So I just want to make sure I'm in state 3, cool, and I clicked in. I'm gonna pull this guy. Oh, I'm not gonna do that. Get 2 and group. Funny, this one is a solid piece. So we can change this guy. There. Great. And now what are we doing? We're gonna change the color.
What are some of your like go-to icon packs?
So I am very lucky right now. I have like an in-house icon set that I use for everything, but and different clients have different icons. But for me, for fun, I mean, I'll use. I go to Noun Project and grab a bunch of those. Really, yeah. Or if I'm feeling really excited and like inspired, I'll make them because that's fun. But yeah. What about you?
Nucleo is definitely one of my favorites, and Streamline. I've gotten to sit down with Victor from Streamline before. There's so much love and attention with those icon suites. I particularly like those for web projects. Nucleo, I feel, works really well because there's varied size icons. So like the icons in that suite for 16 pixel are different than 24 pixel. They're not just shrunken down, but they're reduced in complexity so that they work really well. So I'm with you. Anytime you can make an icon from scratch, that's the way to go. But when you need some like quick out of the box ones, I feel like those two kind of will always work in most situations.
Yeah, Nucleo is pretty cool. Nucleo is great. I've played around Nucleo. It's something about the interface going back and forth. I'm just accustomed really to. I mean, now I'm like I lean a lot on this plugin, which is funny. But I'm just accustomed just like pulling out Noun Project really fast. So it's really whatever you can do just quickly, right? Yeah, it's yeah, there's so many different options is the thing. This is the thing.
Yep, and just a reminder, we've got about 20 minutes left before we start doing our reviews. So if you have not yet submitted your challenge, drop it in the channel. We'll be, or in the Discord channel, not in the live stream channel, and we'll be reviewing those shortly here.
Discord, yep. I'm excited to see some of these DCCs.
Yeah. And I love watching this process that you're going through too here as well, because I think what I like is getting to see people work through their process. It's good for everyone to be reminded of this, that it is messy. And I mean that in the best way possible of like, it's exploration, it's finding things. You have to try things to know if it's a solution that's going to work or not. And it's so easy. I know imposter syndrome is a super real thing. I am well experienced in my career. I face this on a daily basis. You could always look at the things that other people do and you're like, oh, wow, their portfolio is so good. And look at this finished project, but you don't know how many hours of frustration, of trying out ideas that do or don't work that they have to go through. Run it through the crucible of friends for feedback and teammates and things like that until they get to that end product. So I love watching designers work through something and seeing like, we just have to test. Let's try it out in this color, this size, this different font. Like that is a normal part of the process. So for anyone watching and maybe you feel discouraged when you go through this, know that all of us go through this. We don't just magically have the answers and because we've done it 1,000 times. We just know what we should do and we do it. We go through the same process on every project. So it's fun getting to watch people work and seeing sometimes like you nail it the first try, and sometimes you got to do 5 different iterations before you feel like something's working the way you want it to.
I couldn't. So well said. So well said. Right. Yeah, it's a lot of this.
Yeah.
Anyone who doesn't say it isn't this is lying to you. Obviously, everyone can streamline in different ways, and so the farther along you get, the faster it is. That's the thing, is that I think a lot of times when you see tutorials, you can feel like, how did they do that so fast? Oh, I should be that fast. And yeah, and you will be. The thing is, you will be. I feel like I'm still learning different tools still, and I'm just, I've been doing it for a little while. So it's one of those things where you can go into it with a lot of hope for your designs to go quickly. But if you're really getting into it and thinking through the problems you're trying to make, it's gonna take a minute. It's gonna take a minute, and it's gonna be frustrating, and there's gonna be a lot of moving of things, but it's okay. We do it because we like it. Okay. All right. The more I use this blue, the more I don't like the blue. Whatever.
Back to the conversation. You just got to test it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just
But you've set up your styles. So if you don't like that blue and you decide that you want to change it,
yeah,
you modify.
I can change that blue. So what I did was I made like the blue. I was like, I'm just gonna make it the blue. When I figure out that blue, we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
Right. Ooh. Like, am I gonna keep that blue? Let's talk about it later. Right. So now that I've kind of like made this card element, I'm gonna do a little repeat just for time's sake. Let's move these a little smaller. That's so fascinating when the border is so, or the shadow is like sticks out a bit. Let's bring this in a little. Maybe we'll make it. It's a little wonky because of that shadow in terms of spacing, but whatever. I say whatever a lot. I'm realizing. Hope you guys can handle it.
So come into this. So this is like where they get greeted. So it shows them some recommended activities for the day, and then I'm seeing title, maybe like articles or something.
I like what you were saying, or maybe it knows. So Monday's activities. Let's do these things today. And then these are be group activities. Maybe it's a virtual group. I like that. We are patient. We are moving. We are grooving. Stop. It's almost easier to just drag it in. I'm gonna drag it in. Yeah. Where do you go for your imagery? Adobe Stock?
Unsplash is definitely a great one. Adobe Stock, and you can do both of those through the plugins here in XD. So it makes it really easy to search for that kind of stuff. So you could put in like yoga and find 10 different images and be like, cool, I want them to drop into these 10 areas. So make sure you all go in and explore the plugins area. There's a lot of great stuff to discover in that.
Yeah. We'll put that there. Let's use someone's name in the chat. Karen. Use your name, Karen. Cool. Let's see if I have, let's see if my plugins work for me for some stock. This far. Let's use this. Right. A moment where it gets quiet, I'm like, must say all the words. Must say all the words.
Well, I think that's good. I think we'll finish up the screen before the end, and then we'll transition into doing some reviews.
Sounds good to me. Okay. I'm looking for a file I had. How about this? There we go. That looks nice. Do some repeat grid. Do some of that. Do a little bit of maybe giving it some title. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Okay, I hate it a little bit. Let's see. 10 to like. Call it. Make it this character style, which I like now. Now I have it, so I'm gonna make sure this is that same character style. It's hard to see. That's fine. Look, it's lowercase. The vibe was uppercase. Great. And then I'll do this one. And steady. Yeah, that works. Okay, all right, let's keep moving. Why did these not copy over? I guess I have to make it a group. So I'm gonna make this a group and do a big situation here.
Nice little repeat grid. And then you just grab that space in the middle. So it's really easy. If you want to minimize the distance between objects, you can just easily do that here.
Yeah, totally. All right. So let's see if we can do one more screen really fast. Actually,
all right, let's do it.
Because now we have some elements already in place. Actually, I want to put these down here. Try that. Let's see how that looks.
And I agree with Anna. It looks very peaceful, and the mood is spot on.
Mood's right. I'm so glad the mood works. Oh, I love it. I love when I get vibes back. Okay, let's do this little mindful playlist situation. That might be a fun thing to do. Oh, you know what? Also, we forgot our little menu, which I kind of already mocked together. Did I lose it? Yes. Right, so theoretically we would have more than home, but we have home right now, so we can leave that home and maybe we put a playlist symbol because that's kind of where we're at with this. How many doing on time?
We got about 7 minutes left, then we'll transition over.
Great. Let's keep it going. 7 more minutes. How much can I do? Mad dash towards it till the end.
We got the last 7 minutes, or we're gonna get like 45 minutes worth of work done right here. I can feel it.
Welcome to the design process, everyone.
As soon as rushes and deadlines come in, we just move.
Exactly. It's like, how much time? I've been waiting for this last 10 minutes. Like, excellent. Let's just line these up real quick. All right, something there. Let's see, a mindful playlist. I actually did mock this up. because I found that to be easier. Something that looks like that. I like a rounded corner situation. Let us just drop this in. Drop. Drop.
Oh, I dig that search. That's cool.
Let's see. Karen. Karan. I'm so it's a name from I saw from the chat, so you are a real person. Sorry if I'm butchering Karen or Karan. That bothering me. These are the things I'd go back in and mess around. Like, if I were to present this as a case study, which I will, I'll try to like wrap it up and put it on Behance. But, that's the thing I would probably sit at for about a minute trying to figure out. Okay. So, you know what I should have grabbed was some music, like, see if I can do that real fast.
Yeah, pull in a little graphic there.
Yeah, let's do, let me just write out the words and just call it a day. Let's see if this is, ooh, that also works as a song. Excellent, love it. Maybe these are little songs.
Yeah, you can do like name of song and then artist name down below or something.
Exactly. Slow and steady by YouTube. Yeah, so that'll be great for right now. All right, so now I want to just line up this space real quick. I'm always amazed when my guests can get things done, like fully get things done on the stream.
I usually cheat, and I've got it like all done on the side, and I'm just like, oh, we didn't get to this. Like, here's what it's gonna be.
Yeah, cheating's good too.
It's hard. It's a lot of time.
People, make an icon for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Seen that as well. So I feel like I'm right in the middle. Like, I want to be right in the middle with it. I want to be true to the process in a way. Let's see. Let's turn this bit off. Oof.
Val when in doubt, Martha Stewart. It's all right. So, and again, this is where it's really cool having, a pre-made UI kit that you can drop in and customize. Like, we're going to tweak stuff as we go. We're going to make it meet the needs that we have, but we're able to save a lot of time by coming in with some of this stuff predetermined, whether that's through like groupings of items in your design system. Like if you're using an atomic design system, I really encourage you to go look up like the Brad Frost articles on atomic design, but how we're taking like atoms and organisms and molecules and combining them to create these different components and groupings. Being able to pull from a design system and grab those things or quickly modify and have buttons and icons and all this stuff. It's just so nice to be able to have that framework from the start. and then tweak as you go. And just as we're watching Alexis play around and experiment with stuff, that's what this looks like. So you got to experiment, see what's working, and then modify those styles as you go until we feel like we're really fine tuning this to be what we want it to be.
That's the truth. And then the last thing I wanted to put was, right, was like, what if your center, your home button essentially is like you? Maybe, and then that's something that we can like showcase, like you can showcase progress or something in that you section. So man, so much can happen in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, and then let's button up this one, and then let's shift gears into Discord, and we'll start pulling up some of these challenges.
Love it.
And if you're in chat, what have you guys enjoyed most this week? Like, what are some of the big takeaways that you've had from watching the stream, and what processes have really helped you and you feel like applying into the work that you do?
Let's see here. Yeah, chat, what's up? What's interesting about chat is I feel like a lot more people are just kind of hang out in it. Feel free to say something, or, you know, I know it's daunting. Like, I remember when I first came in Adobe Live as a viewer, I was always like, I want to say something, and maybe there's a lag. Like, maybe they won't get to mine. We'll get to it. Just throw in a question or whatever you're feeling.
And if we missed it, ask it again. We'll
ask it again.
We'll make sure we get there.
What if it's you? Something like that.
Awesome. Well, let's do a quick recap on the screens that we've got and kind of where we're walking through, and you know, the things that we would build out if we were to continue on, and then we can jump into the challenges.
For sure. Let's talk about meditation and calm breathing, everyone. Sure is a practice in that. So here we go. So we have a little bit of an onboarding. I'm gonna throw it up here. Yeah, so we kind of made a little splash screen. You know, maybe this is a kind of like an intro to your app. Skip sign up. So right now we know this is an app that is like has wellness playlists. Maybe it has goal trackers. These are things that I'd love to build out, and maybe I will. Once you get through that, here is kind of this vibey intro. Maybe this is a video that plays. It'd be really cool to see that. And then we have a community space where like you have your meditation and your there's some activities that you can do, maybe not just solo, but like with a group. And then we kind of started building out like a little mindfulness playlist that maybe like goes from day to day. Maybe you can search a certain day or a vibe or a mood. And yeah, and so some things that, you know, we're talking about that continue to get built out, you know, are going to be that community feature. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing is that once these things are made, or essentially, right? So this, I can show somebody this on my phone, and I can ask them like, hey, what do you think of this type of product? What do you think of, you know, I can watch them hit things and tap things. So it's important that before I get any more refined, I'm going to talk to someone about it. So that's kind of where we're at. We talked about some mood boarding, and, you know, we went through the whole kind of like mini research project. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. Yeah. And I'll keep working on this, and then I'll throw it up on Behance when it's ready. But yeah, so can't wait to see it.
And where can folks follow you online?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't think I put my website, did I? So my full name is Alexis Bustos, and my website is alexisbustos.design.
Awesome.
And you can find me on there. All my socials are up there. Got a lot more projects up.
Awesome. So, yeah. Well, yeah, go follow Alexis on her website, Twitter, Instagram, and make sure you follow her on Behance too, so you can see maybe updates from this project later, as well as some other cool stuff that she has worked on the past. And we could probably find you, if we like YouTube search your name and go back to some of the other streams that you've done as well. If you enjoyed this, go back into that catalog and library of past stuff and make sure to check those out.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, why don't we jump in, if you want to switch gears into Chrome and not Chrome, Discord.
Discord.
And let's jump into some of the projects that we see there in the chat. And so the ones that we're going to specifically look for today, we'll go through more if we have time, are for the challenge that was in chat, which is, I believe, yesterday's challenge, number 6, to build a messaging experience for a social media app. And one of the goals of that was using content-aware layout to speed up your design process. And there's a starter file that you could utilize for that as well. And so we'll be looking here in the current channel, and we'll check that out. So
let's see.
I can jump into a couple of these.
Let's go the newer ones. Okay. So let's see here. I want to get one that is current challenge. Can you repeat again what the challenge was? Or if you point one out where you know it's the challenge.
Yeah, I think these here, I think like Christy and some of the others at the bottom here, any that we see the messaging experience for social. Not sure where this one's going to go. Let's check it out.
Okay, very cool.
All right, what thoughts do you have on this one?
So let's see here. I am really, let's pause for really quick. This looks like some sort of, so I guess you've taken this project and you kind of put a topic or a spin to it that has to do with swimming. Freestyle is like kind of a theme around messaging. Looks like you guys are, oh look, it looks like they're preparing for a beach reopening. Yeah, I think there are a couple of different elements here that maybe need to get focused on a bit. I've noticed this home space down below is like the big animated feature here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see it kind of move a little bit, right? Okay.
Yeah, I think you could do some more cool things with auto animate there. I know I saw somebody on Twitter, I want to say the XD team retweeted it, but they did some really cool stuff with those like home navigation animations and how text and stuff worked through that. So, go look at examples of that. Utilize auto animate to find those layer name and conventions. Go to Let's XD as well and like watch Howard's video on auto animate to learn the basics of that too. But there's a lot of cool things that you can do with that to just like up the level of those transitions.
Yeah, I think there are some really, this is pretty cool. I really like the like the theme. I'm trying to like see the screen. Swim locations, group settings. Okay. Yeah, there's some text spacing stuff that you could go into, and in sizing. Some basic stuff, making sure like these are aligned a little bit here.
Maybe more contrast stuff. That like teal and blue is really tough to see on the eyes.
Yeah, it's a hard one. So we have teal, we have a solid teal, a solid like kind of light blue, and then we have this kind of like gradient kind of like kind of bouncing out at you type, and it's interesting. I see where you're going for. But yeah, the blue, it's very 80s retro, right? Like it's very, feels like that solo, that cup design, that blue and that teal.
Yeah. I know which one you're talking about. Yeah. I've seen like shorts or like beach shorts with those designs on.
So that could be, even just bringing in that type of element, like maybe a graphic or something, gets me in that headspace faster, and then all of a sudden those spaces are interesting, more interesting for us to look at.
Yeah.
Okay. This one. Oh, this is so cool. It's moving. It's not. There we go. Oh, can you not see it?
No, I think we're good.
Oh, good.
what I can't see is the type is just way too small throughout this
Yeah,
challenge.
let me I'll open it. So I forgot that sometimes these open in a
Well, no. I mean, I think it's opening at like real size. Just the
uh,
design itself, the
oh,
text is really
yes, yes,
small.
yes.
You know, there's like different icons being used. So the icon for
Mm,
the home up top, and then to the top right, the hamburger, and then down below, like they're all different weights. So it feels like a hodgepodge of icons rather than being selected from a consistent icon suite. And having that consistency, like little details, but those are things that we want to try to nail down. And then just that type needs to get way bigger. You should never use type lower than either 16 pixel or 14 bold, just for accessibility purposes. If
mm-hmm.
you don't need to worry about that, which you should, never ever go below those levels, because then there's people that aren't going to be able to actually see or read your content.
True. It's very true. Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. I think let's move forward to Christie's here. Okay. So this social app. So it's basically like the prompt is that we're just a place for people to discuss. Correct. It doesn't really necessarily have to have a theme. Okay, I kind of, I really like the design of this one.
Mm-hmm.
You have a great kind of bottom nav. I'm interested in kind of what's the one that's the home that's selected. I think it's a cool style. I've seen a lot of social apps before, and I think the way you're having your kind of your lead maybe conversation, whoever's leading the conversation kind of siloed out, that's pretty cool. That's interesting. I haven't seen that. Again, I don't really, because your text is lorem ipsum, I really don't know what's going on, but
Right.
I think visually you're pretty tight. These top grays are kind of blending into each other, maybe making it a little lighter. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Just design-wise, I think it's pretty cool, but topic-wise, I'm not really sure what it is. So it's hard for me to be like fully give you full critique.
Mm-hmm.
I like this kind of element. Maybe these are people online, or maybe these are your friends if they're. But again, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of guiding text to help me out. I can see the main mechanisms visually look pretty tight. So
yeah, that's an interesting observation though, because I feel like based on the usage of apps or whatnot, like there's a part of me that wonders, are these stories? Like, because that's something we see in Facebook and Instagram or Snapchat. And it's like, okay, is that what it is? Or those my quick contacts? Like there's so many different things that they could be, but that's something we have to step back and recognize, that we can't intuitively expect somebody to necessarily get that. And what if they've never used the application or something similar before? We still have to guide them to understand what that is. And so that's why I was like, for me, it's like wife and parents test. My wife is a tech savvy person, but not a big tech user. So I always like give her a design and be like, can you figure it out with no context? Or you give it to your parents and can they figure it out? And it's simple things like that, but it's really nice to get someone other than yourself or other designers that like we live and breathe and see this stuff all day. Can somebody else use it? And it goes back to like really designing for the user, not designing for you. That's a really important part of this process.
Really good point. It's really good exercise. Yep. You got to find your edge cases. Who in your life like knows, but maybe isn't. I like that. Knows tech, but not like doesn't use it every day in that way. The wife and the parents test. Got it. I will now do that. Oh, okay. You're a little bit off to the side. Can you still see him?
Yep,
see this?
we got it.
Cool. All right. Okay. All right. Again, this, not sure if we have a water droplet up top. So again, it's like context, I'm not really super sure of. So it's hard to kind of describe that. But I kind of like this idea of having this Instagram story, kind of who's online, a recent post. And so maybe it'd be really cool in your flow to show us that down the line. Why are those highlighted essentially? Because it does pique my interest because it's a mechanism I'm familiar with.
I'll move this a little bit more into the center on the stream. Cool, got it. Yeah, and same thing like the icons down at the bottom. I don't mind the white bar, but like why the blue color when that's not the matching blue from up top? Like I wouldn't mind seeing that kind of bluish gray that's in the top header down anchored in the bottom with that blue teardrop color utilized for the icons. And then we're utilizing these radiance for like your story and the others. I don't understand the purpose. Like what are those for? It's a different color palette combination than the branding, which feels off. And then I have my avatar up top and then your avatar for the story, which feels redundant. Like you could probably get rid of one of those. But I love that it's a small detail, but the first item here, and I think Instagram does this way, is it says your story. So now it's clear to me that the rest of those are other people's stories. And I can kind of like get into and understand what it is, where the last project, that wasn't clear. So it's the small decisions that guide the user down a completely different path. So really well done on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say that's their strongest element here. And it'd be cool, I know, along the way to understand like what something it's interesting because these are really short challenges, right? Really short. And we are kind of looking more at your visual design, but just like adding a little bit of extra copy goes a long way in terms of these themes, just to help us out and help us kind of guide you and understand what are the design decisions you've made. Still not. Oh. You can see it on Discord. Is it still pretty small though? Like, is it too small?
No, I think I can make it a little bit bigger on my end. Let me.
Okay, great.
Let me do that. Everyone bear with me. All right, that works pretty well. Okay.
So this is what we got. We got and kind of like this screen. It's interesting. The logo, I'm fascinated. I want to know what that is. Is it a sideways hourglass? Is it a Spider-Man?
Is it like an infinity symbol? Yeah.
It's interesting to say the least.
Yeah.
But definitely there's a lot of, we've been talking a lot about icons. We got a lot going on. 4 different sets maybe.
Yeah, that's right. That home looks more like a up arrow that turned into the text and whatnot. Like, yeah, having that done, and that's where I really encourage you guys go check out like the Apple or Material developer guidelines and design guidelines, because it used to be that things like doing icons where you went from a lined icon in a general state to filled icon in an active state was the recommendation, and that has since changed, and now it's like filled is the recommended, but it's a change of color that gives the distinction between those different things. So like look and check out what those are. They're not hard rules or anything. Again, they're recommendations, but it's really good to know, keep things consistent, because it's a little detail, but like once you start finding things, whether it's lorem ipsum, type size, alignments, inconsistency of icons, from the standpoint of maybe a client or a hiring manager, once you see one of those items, I'm not saying the design has to be perfect, but when you see one of those, you start going, oh, well, where's the other mistakes? And now you're like eagle-eyeing to look for everything. So take those a couple extra minutes and step away from your design, maybe revisit it the next day or step away for an hour, come back and button up those little details like you were going to give critique to somebody else, because we so often have like tunnel vision because we stare at something for hours or days or weeks that we stop catching our own mistakes. And like it's why it's really important to lean on those teams and friends to get that critique for your own stuff.
So true. It's so true. Yeah. Should we press? Let's press to the one to one, at least one more. At least. This is day 5 challenge 2. Right?
Yeah, I know it's day 5, but we've only got a couple more minutes, but there's, I think, a couple down at the bottom in the channel. There's one that just got dropped by Aaron that looks stunning from the little preview that I can see. So let's maybe check that one out.
Oh, hello.
Right?
Okay.
I
I
want
might have
some
to
of that.
open it up in Behance real quick.
Yeah. Let me
We'll share that.
transform. Bring that back in. Okay.
Let me see my screen.
Yep, we got you.
Oh. Ho-ho. Ba-ba-boom. You know, someone using red. Brave. Brave soul, you. Let's see if I can zoom in. Okay. So it looks like we have a similar situation with like a story, kind of our Instagram story. We know, they've accounted for this kind of like add to your story.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that. And I like how they're, we talk a lot about our shadows. It's pretty good use of shadows there.
Yeah.
But the only thing is that I only see it there. So let's see, we're gonna go down. So I'm seeing a little bit of issues with, spacing. Things are a little tight. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I would bring this out, or if anything, bring in your elements a bit more to give it space.
Yeah,
Really
like that bookmark
like,
on the right side looks like it's just hugging the edge.
They're best friends. They
Yeah.
are best friends. Yep. I really like that you're using this. I mean, very brave to use this very intense red. It is very intense. It is a little jarring at times. So with this red against the, I think it actually works with the white. I personally would maybe tone it down a bit. We've talked about how color can like overwhelm,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks like it looks like you're going to have imagery that maybe don't that you didn't create. Like maybe you're pulling in articles or photographs. So remember kind of what Peter said yesterday about like you're showcasing something. Let the artwork speak for itself a little bit. And so by using like this red, you're really telling us something. You're really bringing our eyes over here. So there's a lot happening. It works with the white. This black, I mean, my eyes are starting to shake. You ever look at something and the colors are so intense next to each other, your eyes start to wobble. That's kind of what's happening.
Like if you could reverse it, and if that background was instead white, but then maybe like the following and followers was the red, or the item that's selected, maybe like I can kind of see there's a bit of a red or darker red like ribbon that's overlaid on this active state or hover, whatever it is. Not hover on mobile, but if this was the red, but then you still kept the rest white, and then
like down here with your home button.
yeah, that would feel like it went more in tune with the application. And again, I think it just looks a little cleaner overall. Like I feel like I should be at a warning sign, or like I'm about to delete this application at this like bold red screen. So just kind of minimizing that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. Yeah, you did great over here. Yeah, the red, you're trying something different, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And in the spacing at the bottom there, let me load up XD on my end, and I'll just share a little tip on that real quick. Is let's just do.
Should I stop my share?
No, you can keep that up. That otherwise our Zoom windows are going to go all over the place. But I could just switch on my end. So I'll have to start a whole new document. 1 second. Okay, let me do this. Okay, let's switch over to my screen. You guys can see that. So what I want to do here, and unfortunately, Alexis, you would need to watch on the stream if you could see it. Otherwise, it's going to break everything. But like coming down here in this bottom area, there's two things I'm going to go over. So one is that if you've got your icons down here, again, we talked about that like 343, again, depending on your system. But like, I want to have a good balance of items on the side. So if I want like 16 padding on each side, I might then I'll go 343, and then I can divide that by 4. It's going to be slightly off, but let's just round it. We'll say like 85. And I'm going to create these 4 grids. And so now within this, I'll just create these 2. Let's go to a different color. And this, make this like pink. And then something else with your icons is if I come in here and I make this say I want like 24 by 24, use this as a container for your icons. And then when you put your icons within this, no matter the shape, whether it's something that's, say, taller, make that even, or if it's something that, as we come over here, is perhaps a little bit like thinner but wider, or something that is going to take up the entire space, maybe more evenly, everything's going to feel as though it goes a lot better and smoother. Where sometimes you see icons that are spaced and it doesn't feel right. Doing it this way is just a good rule of thumb to evenly space out all of those items. So, pad it not to the edges of the screen, but to the content that you're actually working with in your grid system. And then put your icons in a way that, it's not, we always max it at 24 height or at 24 width or something. Adjust for the difference of your icon if it's not something that's like perfectly, width and height symmetrical. But that's just a little tip that I would encourage you guys to mess around with a little bit and go from there. So I'm going to switch back over to Alexis. So we've got your screen up again. And maybe if there's any other questions that you guys have, we've got about 1.5 minutes until the stream is about to end. So if there's any final questions, let us know in chat. Go follow Alexis, go follow me too if you want. That would be cool. We would appreciate that. And yeah, thank you guys all for joining us. Alexis, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your knowledge and helping the community through this and reminding us that we need some solace in this isolation and to rely on our community and friends through all of this. So make sure you all stay connected with us in Discord too.
Awesome. You're the best, Peter.
Oh, right back at you. Well, thank you all for joining. I think I'm going to end it up here with the stream. So just a reminder, stick around for Howard Pinsky here on the Daily Creative Challenges for XD. And if you enjoyed this, join me next week, starting on Monday. I'll confirm, I know it's a holiday, but I think I'm still on. That Monday, we are starting off the challenges for the XD DCCs. And join Alice Lee for the Doodle Therapy. And with that, thank you all so much. Have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll catch you online.